Yeah. Oh, sorry. YouTube gave me a little bit of a switcheroony here. Um, my name is Mark Heilshorn. I am a pastor and a theologian, having served the church for about 20 years, and have been in my own private world for about 10. I am currently a licensed massage therapist and an equine therapist, and I am going back into the world of spirituality, which is my home base was for many, many years. Because we're at a time and place in our lives where I think it's necessary to dive into some things and get spiritual, as it were. So, reclaiming the spirit is my company, and my subtext for all of what I'm doing is really something called dissolving the fear. Dissolving the fear. So, what we've been doing, really for 46 nights now, is a channel called Reclaiming the Spirit, where I'm live and I'm talking about a variety of things. But in this particular instance, I'm talking about Buddhism, and I am describing the paths of Buddhism. And the second one that we're describing today is having the right intention. The right intention. Now, what does that mean? Um, in Buddhist circles, having the right intention means participating in things that are harmless. Harmless. There's always a joke about a Buddhist who's crossing the road and he sees an ant that is crossing with him. Instead of it being trampled upon, he lifts up the ant and brings it back to the other side of the road, so that that ant is held harmless in the foot traffic of the monks and the people walking up and down the road. It's not so much a joke. It's really a matter of intention. It's a matter of adopting harmlessness, and it's also a matter of giving up causes that cause suffering, that cause us to wrap our arms around wealth and power and authority and sex, to use those specifically. Now, think about that. So it is the right intention of a Buddhist to hold harmless anything that causes suffering. Anything that causes suffering. Think of all the things that happen right now that cause suffering. We've got ecological challenges. We've got pollution out the wazoo. And the funny thing about the COVID-19 crisis is that we've seen cleaner skies and cleaner freeways and better water. Dolphins swimming in the canals of Venice. I mean, something is happening when humanity is asked to kind of cease and desist to a degree. Nature perhaps has a chance to recover. So hold harmless anything that has to do with ecology, anything that has to do with any kind of suffering. Whether it's the abuse of people, the abuse of privilege, the abuse of wealth, the abuse of power, the abuse of authority, and of course, the big one, the abuse of sexuality. So let's just go through those a little bit. So hold harmless any suffering that takes place with our authority. And we function really largely in the democracies of the world with a power over structure. If I've got a title, if I've got wealth, if I have a position, if I am an executive, for example, I'm going to have power over a lot of other people. And what the Buddhists would say is, you're going to do that. That's fine, but don't cause more suffering. Don't cause more suffering, and don't use your power to hurt or harm or help other people suffer their realities in life. And so those big three, right? So hold harmless. Do not encourage suffering with your power, your authority, and your wealth. And then do not cause suffering with your sexuality. And, we've had Harvey Weinstein problems. We've had Bill Cosby problems. We've had all kinds of people abusing their privileges and their sex and their power and their authority and their position to enforce certain privilege, if you will, that men have always had. White men of privilege have always had, and I'm one of them. I'm a white man. I have privilege. I have education. I'm able. By definition, I am in the top 1% of the world, and I have a little bit of guilt around that on some level, but that's just the way I am. So I don't want to cause any more suffering, and I don't want to see anybody else use that as a means to cause suffering either. So the Buddhists would say, have the right intention and do not cause more suffering. Walk away from it. Which is why you'll see monks in the Buddhist tradition basically giving up their right to be anything other than what they are, selfless servants of the Buddha, selfless servants of Buddhism, and to follow all of these tenets in their lives so that they are pure, unadulterated, spiritual people coming before God and coming before um, their understanding of their practices to be pure and contrite and loving participants in this life by serving humanity and serving their order. So that's what right intention is all about. So if you have any questions, please respond to me. But that's the second path in Buddhism. And the next one is right speech. We'll talk about that next.